Representative Mary Gay Scanlon, who is on the Immigration Subcommittee with me, and also the ranking member of the Constitution Subcommittee, very important committees within Congress. Representative Mary Gay Scanlon from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Representative Jayapal. Look, more than a dozen members of Congress have been in Chicago for the last 2 days, hearing testimony from community members, clergy, civil rights lawyers, child advocates, and representatives from lawyers and from labor and business. And what we have heard is shocking. Right now, Chicago is a place of widespread fear, chaos, and lawlessness. But it is masked and armed federal agents who have brought that fear, chaos, and lawlessness. Just look at this morning's Chicago papers. Here we've got Chicago Sun-Times. Feds arrest high school students and tear gas protesters. Chicago Tribune has a story about Bovino. He's the head of the federal task force that is inflicting all this chaos. He was filmed tossing tear gas canisters at protesters after a court ordered that tear gas not be used. It's right here inside the paper. There's video as well. Look, this is just this morning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Federal agents have engaged in dangerous traffic stops, wrecking cars, shooting motorists, endangering pedestrians, and provoking confrontations. There's video of ICE agents shooting one of our witnesses here today, Pastor Black, while he was praying outside a detention facility. Federal agents have detained children, including American citizens, on their way to school. They've deployed tear gas near elementary schools, and they've zip-tied children snatched from their beds in the middle of the night. Small business owners, taxpayers, and workers have been grabbed at their workplaces and from their cars. Surveillance drones and military helicopters terrorize neighborhoods at night. Children are traumatized. Families are afraid to leave their homes. It's important that we have this oversight hearing because the American people need to know about the chaos and the lawless acts being committed in their names and with taxpayer dollars here in Chicago. It's important we have this hearing to expose the lies and establish the facts about what's happening in Chicago and why Americans should be concerned that this abuse of power and lawlessness could come to their city or their town next. Americans may be shocked by all of this, but we can't turn away. We must not turn away, because if we do, this chaos, this lawlessness, the use of masked and armed forces against Americans could come to your neighborhood next. It's important that Congress demand accountability for these lawless actions of federal agents when this administration will not, and in fact encourages it. This is an important conversation that our Republican colleagues in Congress are refusing to have, but the evidence is damning. The White House is lying to the American people when it says our cities are war zones and that the military has to be sent in. The White House is lying to the American people when it says that it is making our country safer by deploying armed forces to American cities. And the White House is lying when it says that it is targeting armed and dangerous undocumented immigrants. That's why we can't look away. When Americans see reckless and violent ICE raids, whether in Chicago or LA, Pennsylvania, on farms, small businesses, and in factories across the country, they know it doesn't make us any safer. When masked agents grab people from their homes and workplaces and the courts and schools, when families are torn apart, when the administration spends taxpayer dollars to produce slick videos and instill fear in communities, endorsing brute force over the rule of law, when hundreds of American citizens have been wrongfully detained during these lawless raids, this dangerous disregard for the rule of law impacts every single one of us. None of this makes America or Americans safer, and all Americans should be terrified and disgusted as this White House unleashes armed and masked agents in uniforms on our cities, turning our streets into combat zones. So there are important lessons to be learned from what's happening here in Chicago. It's important to understand the administration is not making people safer. It's important to understand the terror that's been unleashed. But it's also important to understand that members of the Chicago community are standing up to demand accountability. They're organizing to document the abuses, and they're bringing actions in court to restrain the federal abuses and vindicate the rights of individuals. Mr. Fee, you've been on the front lines here with the legal efforts. You've raised the important issue that the administration has made a series of outrageous claims, and when they've put those claims to the test, they don't have the proof. Can you just give us a brief comment about that and how the courts have impacted it?
Absolutely. I think the common thread that runs through the biggest of the cases that have come out of the district court in the Northern District of Illinois over the last couple of weeks is that the facts on the ground simply do not match up with the claims that this administration is making, whether it's Judge Ellis in the Chicago Headline Club case, concluding that this notion that there's a violent mob threatening people in Chicago when in fact there are people exercising their First Amendment rights just doesn't line up with the facts. Likewise, in the National Guard case, there are no facts to suggest that there is a rebellion or anything of the sort in Chicago.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Representative Scanlon.